above the tent so it would be in the camera. They just moved.
What was that?
Charlie was probably even bigger than what he perceived. So big that somebody would want to assassinate him. So the shooter, they say, was about 200 yards away. This is a suspect that they're apparently looking for. It's not about the theories of, why this happened. It's more so like, what is the outcome of this?
Bad people get what they deserve.
I've never been happier.
Rest in peace, bozo!
Okay, I gotta turn it off. I can't even watch that. And the sad thing is these people think that in the name of whatever their cause is, that this is okay. Let us honor Charlie, not by words alone, but by action, but also by speaking truth bravely and kindly. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Tillman Show. I always appreciate you guys for subscribing to my channel, and just thank you guys for sticking along with my journey. Today is going to be a somber episode, as I'm sure you know. This past week in our country has just been deplorable, to say the least, and it's going to be a hard one. But nonetheless, I want to come to you guys, bring you guys the latest information as it's unfolding, give you guys my perspective and my opinion. Before we move forward, like I always say, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you can, make sure you guys turn on that notification bell to get all the latest and greatest information that comes your way. But let's just jump right into it. Yesterday was difficult. I put out a video about Charlie Kirk yesterday and the assassination that took place on his life. And I make a lot of videos in my life. I've probably reviewed countless of videos, and that was probably one of the worst videos I've seen in my lifetime, just because it was so barbaric. And I want you guys to just understand something. Like, look, I'm not commenting on this situation from a political standpoint, but as someone that actually kind of knew Charlie Kirk. And when I say I knew him, I actually met him and his wife when they were newlyweds. This was a few years ago. They came to speak at my church. And when I met him, he was a man who I believe was truly blessed by God. Rather than what a lot of people would say online or what they think they know about him, he had a phenomenal spirit. I believe he did have the favor of the Lord, and he was someone who knew the Bible inside and out. He had a gift for cutting through the noise, removing emotions from situations so people can see facts and context. And let me tell you, in today's day and age, that is a very, very tremendous gift to have. And he was unapologetic about it. He didn't apologize for that. And because of that, he made a lot of enemies throughout the way. But more importantly, what this episode is more so about is he also made a legacy. So let's actually get going into the current events first before I jump into Charlie Kirk and his legacy. Yesterday, I had just gotten done speaking in Michigan. And when I got off of the stage, I got in my car to drive to the airport, and I pulled out my Instagram. And as I was scrolling Instagram, I saw news that Charlie Kirk had been shot in the neck. And I didn't believe it. I mean, we see stuff all the time, but I completely did not believe this. And I've reached out to some of my friends that we have a lot of mutual friends together, And so I reached out to some of my mutual friends, and sure enough, they confirmed it. What I want to do is I'm not gonna play the video of him actually getting shot. I won't do that because I think that we see enough of that type of gruesome stuff online nowadays. And on top of that, I want to preserve whatever we have left, for the decency we have left for his wife and his kids, because it was already barbaric enough. But what I am going to show you is I'm going to show you a video of a reporter who was out there just doing some interviews with students when this all occurred. Let's watch.
Are you going to go down and get closer? Are they restricting you guys up here or what?
Nah, it's too crowded.
It's just, there's just so much stuff.
Before we had a flag and we had it so it's positioned above the tent so it would be in the camera. They just moved.
What was that?
He just got shot! Holy shit! Holy shit!
There's been a shooting. We heard shots. You guys okay? Okay, love you. Be safe. Okay, be safe. Bye. Apparently there's been a shooting. I don't know who's been shot.
We are here live at Utah Valley State University. There's been a shooting at the Charlie Kirk event, the TPUSA event. There has been a shooting. Everybody's evacuating. I don't know if that was shots or if that was fireworks, to be honest, but... Good, how are you doing?
Were you able to see anything that happened?
I was standing right here interviewing people. Hang on. Charlie Kirk got shot? Holy shit, Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck is what my kid is saying.
Your kid's saying Charlie?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. My son is down there. He says that Charlie Kirk has been shot in the neck. This is unconfirmed. This is from my son who was down there right in front of Charlie Kirk. We're going to go down there and see if we can get any more info. My son just said Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck.
So as you can see, it was utter chaos out there. And I watched a few of the interviews after the fact with the police chief, some of the people from the FBI. They didn't have a lot of police officers at this event. It's a college, and so typically the way that kind of works is each university has their own police force, and they're not huge. And so they had their own officers deployed. They said they had some unmarked people out there in the audience, but they didn't have a large police presence. And one would say is probably just because you don't expect this. These are the type of things that you don't expect. And I was actually eating lunch with my wife today, and I was saying, like, you know what, Charlie was probably even bigger than what he perceived. So big that somebody would want to assassinate him. You know, years ago when I met Charlie, he came to speak at my church, and I was helping him with his security detail. And I got to meet the guys at the time. I don't think they're on his team anymore, but some of the guys on the security detail, and they told me, like, yeah, you know, he has threats on his life. But at the time, like, I didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh yeah, okay, like, you have threats on your life. But yesterday just put so much more perspective into the true threats that he had to his life. So the shooter, they say, was about 200 yards away from where he was at. He was underneath one of those gazebos, those little pop-up tents. And they said that he had a rifle. And I saw the other video of him actually taking the round, and it was gruesome. I wish I would have never saw it because it's just something that you never unsee. And the shooter was able to get away. Recently, I saw this online. It looks like this is the suspect, the latest suspect information that they have. So at the time of recording this video, this is the suspect that they're apparently looking for dressed in all black. They said he blended in pretty well with the audience. And, you know, there are numerous amounts of conspiracies out there. There's numerous amounts of theories. I've heard on some channels that there was a private airplane that when it went up in the air around the time, it turned off one of the beacons that would tell people where they're at. And then an hour later, it popped back up. So there's some people that believe this guy is in the wind. There's others that believe that this was probably conspired about or put on by some, you know, other foreign entities, foreign countries. But at this point, we really don't know. There's really don't know. We can all be skeptical. We can all have our own theories. But I think if we actually really, you know, sit down and take a step back, you know, it's not about the theories of, you know, why it has happened. It's more so like, you know, what is the outcome of this? You know, Charlie leaves behind a wife, Erika, and 2 young kids under 5. And later on this video, we're going to talk about how deplorable it is for some people to be reveling in his death. But what I want to do first and foremost is I want to talk about his legacy, especially his fight for freedom of speech. Whether you like it or not, a value is under attack in many ways. That value is freedom of speech. And I want to give you guys updates on the investigation, some more on the timelines and all that. But before I go any further, I want you to understand whether you agree or disagree. We live in some dark times. We live in some very, very, very dark times. So my hope is by the end of this video, we remember that Charlie was not just one that was taken from us, but his principle of fighting for truth and free speech remains. And that his life mattered, and that even in disagreement, we must be able to preserve our humanity. There were a lot of people that did not like Charlie Kirk. It's just the reality. And the reason they didn't like him is because Charlie Kirk stood on a lot of biblical principles. And in the Bible, it talks about if Christ had enemies, what makes you think that we won't have enemies for serving Christ? But the other reason he had enemies was because, like I said at the beginning, is he was very unapologetic. He spoke truth in a way that was unapologetic, and he didn't really care about how people felt. And some may say that's a negative trait. Others will say it's a very strong trait, but nonetheless, it was a trait that he had and he possessed. He was a young man who shook up political conversations. He was the founder of Turning Point USA, and he was reaching young people, speaking truth, and more importantly, challenging prevailing narratives. I mean, he essentially built not only a following, but an influence, especially among students and young conservatives across our world, not just here in the United States, but across our world. And this was his method. His method was facts over hype. Clarity over emotional manipulation. I want to break that down just a little bit because, in my growth as an adult, what I've had to learn to do is I've had to learn to look at perspectives from a factual lens as opposed to an emotional lens. When we look at things through an emotional lens, oftentimes we start getting fired up. We get mad, we get upset because we don't like the way something is said, or we don't like the reality of certain said situations. And so we react from an emotional state of mind. But the moment I stopped reacting from an emotional state of mind and I started reacting from a factual state of mind, it allowed me to palate more of the information or develop a palate for more of the information that guys like Charlie Kirk would say, Candace Owens, or other people that are known as conservatives, because they would talk about hard truths. And the way he spoke about those hard truths was in a way that was very, very, it was very kosher. It wasn't like he was trying to fight you. He wasn't coming at you hostile. What he would do is he would ask you a question and then he would wait for a response. And then he would allow you to respond, and then he would either come back with an agreement or disagreement. It's good, healthy debate, wholesome debate, which I think is what our country needs. But now we live in a society where if you say something or you believe something that is in the opposition of what the other side thinks, not only will we counsel you, but we will kill you, is what they're saying. And we've had many people in our society before sustain similar battles. When many lean into outrage or sensationalism, he sought really to dissect the arguments and expose the inconsistencies and force people to think critically. And I think that that's what we need more of nowadays. We need to learn to think critically as opposed to just thinking or forming an opinion based on somebody I follow's opinion. That's the society we live in. We live in a microwave society nowadays where if this person, I follow him and I believe them, so I'm just going to believe what they had to say. The one thing that I did with Charlie is that would I not only listen to his information, I would critically think for myself to evaluate and assess what he was saying and where he was coming from before I got charged up emotionally. He was unapologetic, and that's the part that I really admired. Like, again, whether a lot of people liked him or not, I admired his unapologetic approach at things. And that takes a real skill set and talent because most people are too afraid to come out. And that is what made him polarizing. But polarizing doesn't mean wrong. Being willing to stand up for a principle, even when it costs you, is rare. And I believe that's part of his legacy. That's part of the legacy that he's going to leave behind, is the fact that he was willing to stand up even though most people wouldn't. We live in a time when free speech is increasingly under pressure. Increasingly. Not just from external censorship, but from culture, from fear, from anger. When you disagree with someone, that response isn't even a debate anymore. But it's more of a demonization, sometimes threats, and like we witnessed yesterday, much worse, death. And in extreme responses, these lead to extreme consequences, and we've seen it throughout history. We've seen it with JFK, we've seen it with RFK, we've seen it with MLK, and people whose ideas threaten the status quo in some way paid the price, ultimately with their lives. We even saw it with Abraham Lincoln. You see, Charlie Kirk's death should force us to ask this critical question. If speech and ideas are criminalized by social pressure, harassment, or worse, where do we go from here? If we cannot tolerate someone's voice because we dislike their views, then the very foundation of free speech is now undermined. And as you watch this video, the crucial thing that I want you to pay attention to is, what are we willing to do to stand up for free speech? If you look at other countries across this world, there are other countries that do not have the liberties, the civil liberties that we have here in the United States. You know, it's interesting because, you know, I was watching a video recently of some people that showed up to an event, a school board meeting, and they got the microphone, and what they said was "Hail Satan." Everybody got up. They had probably about 5 or 6 people that kept getting up there saying, "Hail Satan, hail Satan." Now, as a Christian man, you know I'm in complete disagreement with what they were saying. There's no reason somebody should be saying "Hail Satan." But for the sake of freedom of speech, I couldn't shut it down. I couldn't just tell them that they should remove the mic from their hands and allow them not to say that. Because the moment I take that mic away from them and tell them that they cannot utter the words "Hail Satan," is the moment that we now start to jeopardize and compromise the very principles that our forefathers established, which is freedom of speech. Free speech means not just speaking when people agree with you, it means allowing space for disagreement, for those uncomfortable conversations, for ideas to be challenged, but without devolving into violence or hatred. I truly believe that Charlie Kirk was on to something that was above and greater than our generation. And so I want you guys today, when we look at the legacy and when we understand what's going on with the legacy that he left, what is it that we should be fighting for? What is it that we should be fighting for? I believe that we need to continue to fight to stand up to those that want to suppress our voice. People are not always going to agree with us. It's just the reality. There's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with us. I have people all the time that get on my social media pages, my BBU page, my Instagram page, and they do not agree with me. But does that mean I shut them down? No. We need to learn how to be able to agree to disagree. And I'm telling you, I didn't always agree with everything that Charlie said, or at least how he said it. I didn't. But I don't know. It's rare if I could find anybody where I can say I 100% agree with everything they say. I don't even know if that's even possible. So can we get to a place where we can walk away and say, you know what, agree to disagree, let's move on. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. As one would expect in this polarized climate, the reactions have come fast and they've come hard. We've had a lot of positive feedback from both sides. We've had the politicians from both sides and business leaders that have expressed their grief. President Trump and others in government have called this a political assassination. There's a lot of things that have come about this that I think will be positive in the long run. There have been tributes from young people who heard him speak, who believed in what he was fighting for, recognition of his passion and his boldness. But unfortunately, there's also been a lot of negative and disturbing thoughts that have been blasted all over social media. There's been media content celebrating his death, comments comparing him to tyrants, another saying the world is better now. I believe this is sick and demonic, and there's no other explanation for it. And anybody that tries to back or support a person like that needs to do a self-check in the mirror. No matter how much you agree with this man or agree with anybody, there's no justification for celebrating their death. And to do this is to dehumanize him, to lose the moral ground, and tear apart the very fabric that has sewn this nation together. Let me show you guys some of the rhetoric that's been going on since his death.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next?
Okay, I got to turn it off. I can't even watch that. And the only reason I'm showing you this is because I want you guys to understand what we're up against. This is the real enemy that we're up against. And the sad thing is these people think that in the name of whatever their cause is, that this is okay. Here goes a few more.
They got Charlie Kirk, bro. I've never been happier.
Never believe the reason I'm smiling. And it has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. Nothing to do with Charlie Kirk.
I would say pour one out for Kirky boy, but I don't waste good beer on little bitches.
I haven't posted on TikTok in a long time, but I'm gonna now because rest in peace, Bozo!
Charlie Kirk just got put down like a fucking dog in Utah, and I could not be happier. Praise fucking be.
I do not, and I will not, ever feel bad when bad people get what the fuck they deserve.
Again, the only reason I show these videos is because this is the enemy. This is what we're up against. That last woman, she said, when bad people get what they deserve. What's their definition of bad? Somebody that speaks their mind? Somebody that speaks their voice? That's bad? What is it that would be good then? That's the question I would ask her is what do you classify as being good? You see, why all this matters is because responses reveal more than the event itself. They show the temperature of our society. And if we allow hatred and mockery and celebration of violence to become normalized, the next time someone speaks, someone writes, someone believes something different than you do, the consequences could be much worse. We got to be able to stand up against these people. I saw there were even news anchors that were saying stuff, politicians that were saying stuff. Some have been removed from office, rightfully so. MSNBC did a piece yesterday where they had a guy that actually had the audacity to say that maybe it was one of his fans out there celebrating that accidentally shot him. Like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. We just allow it. We just allow it. Now, there will be others that watch this video and they would say, well, you're kind of contradicting yourself by saying that they can't say what they want and then in the name of free speech. And to an extent, you're right. I have to be able to tolerate these people in the sense of allowing, they could say what they want to do because it is free speech. So that part is true. But what we shouldn't do is we shouldn't make them feel comfortable being able to say the things that they're saying. We have to identify our heart check. You see, everything that Charlie would say for the most part was all rooted and grounded, number one, on biblical principles, mostly, but also he had a firm conviction on what he believed. And like I said, whether you are right or wrong, let's just say I completely disagreed with everything that Charlie said, which is not true. But let's just say I did disagree with everything he said. Does that give me a pass to go out there and celebrate a death as gruesome as we witnessed yesterday? It doesn't. You know, the Bible talks about like wide is the road that leads to death and destruction, hell. And when I was younger, I never really understood that philosophy because in my mind, I'm like, God is so gracious. God is so merciful. You see my shirt says merciful because God is merciful. So how could so many people be led to destruction? But as we go on in society and I see the depravity of man, it has become ever so clear to me how people are on a one-way ticket to hell if they don't learn to find Christ in their life. So what's the ultimate thing? Well, I'll tell you this. Number one is if you want to know what truth is, don't take it from me. Don't take it from Charlie. Don't take it from anybody, quite frankly. You know where you take it from? I'll tell you where you take it from. This is where you take it from. This is my Bible. And I believe that everything in this thing is true. Every word, every scripture. In this book, it talks about the Bible is sharper than any two-edged sword. The Bible is living and breathing. There's freedom in this. So don't take it from these people. But if you really want to know truth and want to know on what side of the aisle, good or evil, you should stand on, the only way you're going to figure that out is through here. And it's through having a personal relationship with our Lord and Savior. You see, I don't want to be unapologetic about my faith. I mean, I do want to be unapologetic about my faith. I don't want to, people to feel like a certain way. No, I am unapologetic about who I believe in. My faith is in Jesus Christ. And when I'm done, when I leave this earth, and what I want to be known for is that man served Jesus Christ like no other. That's what I want to be. That's what I want my legacy to be about. This moment is more than Charlie Kirk. It's more than about Charlie Kirk. Though it is deeply about him, it's about what kind of society are we? Free speech is not just a buzzword. It's what allows ideas to be challenged. It allows progress, moral truth, growth. It allows people to change. When speech is shut down, not by law necessarily, but by fear, by social pressure, and by threats of violence, everyone loses, my friends. We all must guard ourselves against a culture where disagreement equals dehumanization. It's possible to critique ideas, to call out falsehoods, no doubt about it, to engage passionately, but still preserve basic human respect for one another. So what are some concrete steps that each of us can take? Where do we go from here? Because that now becomes a reoccurring question. Where do we go? Well, I want you to know is number one is we have to consume information very carefully. Seek verified sources and don't spread rumors. I think rumors only spread more destruction. We need to learn to speak truth, but do it kindly. Don't start stooping to these people's level and, engage in violence or wishing harm on them because that undermines any moral high ground. We need to push for accountability. Law enforcement should do its job. Investigations should be transparent. Platform operators should enforce their policies consistently across the board, not favoring one side or the other. Advocate for civil discourse. Model it. When you disagree, ask questions, challenge ideas, not people. That's what it comes down to. Charlie Kirk's death is tragic. It hurts really, really hard, especially, like I said, because I knew him and we have a lot of mutual friends. But it can and it must be more than an event we just digest. It must be a wake-up call for this whole nation and for our world. A call to defend free speech, not only for those that we agree with, but for all, to preserve our capacity to disagree with destruction, to protect human dignity even when we are angry. To the detractors out there, look at it. Let me tell you something. I understand disagreement, and I don't expect universal agreement, not at all, but I do expect decency. I expect recognizing that life is sacred and celebrating death is never acceptable. So my last words for you today as I wrap up this video. Let us honor Charlie, not by words alone, but by action, but also by speaking truth bravely and kindly, by refusing to allow fear or hate to dominate, and by standing by free speech and justice for all. You know, he leaves behind his wife and his 2 kids and so many more people, and that's the least that we can do, so that way his death is not in vain. You know, we have Martin Luther King to look at, JFK, RFK, all these people that I mentioned, people, Abraham Lincoln, that fought for the same thing. So we have to continue to fight the good fight, because if not, we will turn it over and allow the enemy to win. So thank you guys, as always, for watching this show. I appreciate you guys. And if you guys believe in what I'm saying, do me a favor, share this video, talk about it, stay prayed up, stand firm in truth, read your Bible, and let me build a world where ideas are powerful, but love, respect, and life are more powerful. Thanks again. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you guys turn on those notification bells. Thanks again, and God bless.